Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how we can connect Power BI to MySQL database and bring data from your MySQL database tables into Power BI. I will also show you how we can build a model in the model view, and during the course of development, I'll try to explain with examples why having a good understanding of SQL and EBMS concepts is important for working with Power BI. First, let us start with connecting to MySQL and fetch the data. So let's click on Get Data. More. Now, when the box opens, we'll input. Okay, let's type MySQL. Select MySQL, click on Connect. Okay, let us put the details now. Since I'm connecting to a local DB, I will give the server as localhost. The database name is Sales Master. Now, this will connect me directly because I've already entered the password. But in your case, it might ask you to enter your login details. So give your login details accordingly. If you're using SQL authentication, give your username and password there. Now we can see our tables are up. I have one, two, three, four, five, and six tables, out of which five are dimension tables or lookup tables or master tables. One of them is the transaction table or fact table in our case. So I've selected all of them and I'll click on load. Yep, this might take a while. So this will fetch all the data of those six tables from my local DB to Power BI. Groceries and other items. This has one transaction table and five other dimension tables having properties and attributes around those transactions. Okay, let us go to the table view and see what data we have here. So first of all, we have calendar master. Calendar master is nothing but a table containing 3 years of data. We'll be using this, using the data coming from this table for any time or date related stuff. Next, we have the customer master. So in this context, this customer master is the exhaustive list of all the customers who have purchased from this chain of stores in the past. Here we have the employee master. This employee master is again an exhaustive list of all the employees who have worked with this organization in the past or and also in the present. Next, we have the product master. As the name suggests, this is the master or dimension table for all the products that the organization has been selling or the store has been selling. Then we have sales by store. Now, this is the transaction data. This is the actual data which was collected when these items were sold in their respective stores. So this is your transactional table or fact table, as it is also called fact table. Next, we have the store master again, details or lookup table for the stores and its location. Now, quickly, let's jump on to the model view and see how we can model the data. Now, as you can see, Power BI by default or automatically detects relationships uh, because we have the setting turned on under the advanced settings. But let's say if let me go ahead and delete all the relationships here, and we will recreate these relationships so that I can explain you how these are built and what's the importance or how we use SQL in Power BI. Actually, not SQL, but DB related concepts. SQL is the language which we use. Concepts are concepts. Great. So I have deleted all the existing relationships or auto-generated relationships. Now we will recreate the relationships here. Great. So first of all, what we will be building over here will be a star schema. So guys, you need to be thorough with certain concepts when you work over here. One is cardinality, that is one is to many relationships, like one is to many, one is to one, many is to one. These terminologies and concepts should be crystal clear before you come over here and start working, because this model view is very, very important and critical part. No matter how good you are at writing DAX, but if your model is not configured properly, then your DAX is never going to give you accurate answers, right? So this model view right here and this model is the fundamental of your business intelligence and your analytics. Something goes wrong here, all your numbers will get directly impacted, right? So let's get started with creating a star schema. So guys, let's get started with building the model, and we'll do that by building a star schema first. So guys, you need to understand what a star schema is. So in a typical star schema setup, you will have your fact table or the transaction table in the center, and you'll have all your dimension tables or the master tables around it connected to it. Now, before we start, let's get clear with the use of words or the terminologies. The transaction table is the fact table, and all these master tables will henceforth call them as dimension tables. Okay, so please do not confuse yourselves. When I say transaction or fact, I mean this transaction table, and when I say master table or lookup table, I mean these dimension tables. Okay, let's get started. So star schema is also the Power BI recommended way of modeling here. We'll see how we can build a star schema here. So before we do that, let us go back to the table view and analyze our fact table, which is the sales by store transaction table. This one. Okay. Now have a look at the columns over here. You have a transaction ID first of all. So this transaction ID is the primary key over here, which means no two rows in this entire table will have the same transaction ID. Okay. Every transaction is associated with one ID only. So what is a transaction in this context? Let's say I go to the store and purchase, for example, a bottle of water. So that's one transaction, right? That transaction will have one transaction ID. What is the product that I purchased over here? Is a bottle of water. Okay. I am the customer here, which means I will have a customer ID. Someone from the store would have served me. So that person is the staff, and that staff will have a staff ID associated to him or her. Next, I went to a particular store, which means that store will have a store ID associated to it. Right? I purchased a bottle of water, so that product bottle of water will have a product ID associated to it. Right? So, and I went to the store at on a particular date, which means the transaction will also have a transaction date, as you can see over here. So you have all these columns in this table already. You have a transaction ID, you have a transaction date, a time as well. You have a store ID, the store in which the transaction happened. You have a staff ID, the person who served me during the transaction. Me, I mean the customer. You have the customer ID. In this context, I am the customer. So this is the ID associated to me. In this context, I am the customer. So this is the ID associated to me. Then we have a product ID. So I purchased a bottle of water. So that water bottle will have a product ID associated to it. That is the product ID, right? So these are all the uh, key IDs associated to the transaction. Now let us have a look at the other tables. You see, you have a transaction date over here. This transaction date is also primary in this table, which means no two rows will have the same transaction date. Moving on to the customer dimension, we see we have a customer ID in this table. This customer ID is also unique, right? Which means no two rows in the table will have the same customer ID. Next, moving on to the employee master or the employee dimension table, you will see it has a staff ID associated to it here. So this staff ID is also unique. So this is the primary key for this table. Okay. Let's go to the product master. Likewise, under the product master, you see a product ID, which is primary to this table, which means each product has a unique product ID associated to it. Likewise, when we scroll down, we go to the store master table, which has a store ID associated to it, which is again unique, as you can see. So we have gone through the fact and all the five dimension tables. Now let us go back to our model view and start creating relationships over here. Okay. How we can do this is there are two ways. Like one way is you can drag and drop the columns to one another and it forms a relationship. And this happens like this. For example, I have to associate this store master or store dimension with the fact table over here. What I can do is I can click on the store ID. I can drag, drop it on this, the other store ID, and this will create a relationship. So it's working on it. Cool. The relationship has been created over here. So you see this side, this store is your one. Let us go to the property that will be more clear there. Right. So you see this relation is many is to one. Your one side is your store master, your many side is your transaction table. And why is that so? So let me go back to the table view to explain this. Okay. Now consider this example. There is one store. For example, let us pick store number 8. There is one store which sells multiple products to many people throughout the day. Okay. Now, for example, 5 people enter into the same store and purchase different items. Those 5 can purchase the same item as well. Let's say 3 people out of those 5 people they purchase water bottles. The other two purchase milk. They they purchase various items from the same store, which means one store was catering to multiple people. So store becomes one, and transactions are 5 over here. That's why the one part of the relationship will be the store ID, and the many part of the relationship will be the transactions. And hence, store ID to transaction will be 1:4. Same is the case with all the other dimension to fact table mapping in this case. Okay, I'll show you how it will be done for the other tables. Now, this was one way to create a relationship. I'll show you another way. To do that, click here, just click here and go to properties. Now, not this. So to do this, just click on this table, right click, and select manage properties. Here we have this relationship present already, which we just created. Now you can add a new relationship here. Click on new. Okay, list has come up. So let me create a relationship between the product master and the sales by store. And we have already seen they are related by product ID. As you can see, Power BI automatically detects it. So product ID is selected here and product ID is selected here. Now again, you see the cardinality over here is 1 is to many. Likewise, we can do the same for all the other tables. So let us quickly go create one for customer and sales by store. Okay, which is on the customer ID, which is correct. Let's go ahead and create for the remaining three as well. So we have created one for transaction, one for calendar, one for customer, one for staff, one for product. Let us create one for store as well. Master. Oh, the relationship already exists. Yeah, we started with that actually. So I think we are all covered. We have connected all our tables now. So just close this and let it apply and see how the star schema comes up. Cool. As you can see, just try to visualize this as a star. You have 5 points and one common center over here. Let's collapse these. So when you collapse these, you can see their respective keys used to associate with the fact table to create the schema. And here you can see all the keys which were used from this table to associate to the other dimension tables to create the schema. So guys, I hope it was clear from this video like why deep understanding of DBMS concepts and SQL concepts is important when you start working with Power BI, for that matter, any other BI tool. Having the basics covered is very important, and I hope this video helped you understand that. I would recommend all my viewers to go ahead, browse through the internet, and understand more about star schema, cardinality, which is 1 is to many, many is to many, and all that, about primary keys, about aggregations, and all, because this was just one model view that we demonstrated over here. When you go to the Power Query editor and you try to join, append, or union things, there also the SQL and DBMS concepts come into picture, and it is equally important to understand those concepts as well. So, guys, thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned, and we will. So, guys, thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more such informative videos in the future. Thank you again.